Hello Sailor is an exhibition about gay merchant seafarers from the end of World War II until the 1980s. So it's about the difference it made for gay men to go away to sea. Sea was the only place where you could be out and camp apart from theatre, and thousands of men chose to go away to sea because they were gay and because they knew they could express their sexual identity there. The research essentially began when my colleague Paul Baker, who co-wrote the book Hello Sailor with me, advertised in the Pink Paper and various gay magazines for gay seafarers. And from that there was a kind of domino effect. So those gay seafarers we met then introduced us to more gay seafarers, so we got more and more stories that way. And I must say I've been entertained in lots of extraordinary situations, particularly down in Southampton and Portsmouth. I've heard some riotous stories, and I think they had a wonderful time at sea. It must have been so hard for them to adjust afterwards. I guess the exhibition had two stages. First of all, I wrote the book with Paul Baker, and so we interviewed people who were gay seafarers, ex-gay seafarers, about their lives. And then when Merseyside Maritime Museum agreed to making it into an exhibition too, I then interviewed a load more seafarers, mainly down in Southampton actually, and they had a wonderful time donating their photos, advising us on this room set, for example, and giving their stories. One of the great bonuses of this exhibition is that the Maritime Museum here has decided to set up a gay seafarers archive, and so this will be the only place in Britain and indeed the world where you could come and hear stories of gay seafarers and see their photos. So, you know, the exhibition is much more enduring than lots of exhibitions are. It will have a life for decades, maybe even centuries. Some of the things can be read and seen on the web, on the museum's website already. It was a very brave decision of the Maritime Museum to put on an exhibition about homosexuality, because it's still a difficult subject and museums often have to be family friendly and to have topics that are used in the national curriculum. So I'm terribly impressed that Merseyside Maritime Museum made the effort and made the brave step of putting this on. This is the element of the exhibition that I'm most proud of. When I first started thinking, this material is too good to be just in a book, it needs to be a play in an exhibition, I had this vision of a room set like a gay guy's cabin. They were called the Fruit Locker or Balmoral because the Queens live there. And I particularly wanted a sticky out frock in the wardrobe, which we have, and two pairs of shoes, a guy's uniform shoes showing the straight life he led by day, and the lovely sparkly party shoes he wore at night when he was camping it up in a cruise show or just in the ship's bar, the Pig and Whistle. I love this, it's my favourite bit. Seafarers had tiny cabins, and so obviously a normal cabin would have a dark uniform in a tropical uniform, but for gay guys, you know, they had these wonderful frocks too. So they crammed these frocks in their wardrobes, or sometimes they stored them in a special place on the ship and they got looked after. But as you see, this is a stunning dress that deserves lots of care and attention. So squashing it in a wardrobe is probably not a thing that the guys would have done because they love their frocks so much. But we did it, you know, for the exhibition. This, I think, is one of the most interesting and innovative aspects of the exhibition, because the people who told their stories also drew imaginative maps showing the way they used the various ports. So we've got Southampton in the 1950s here, we've got Sydney in 1948, we've got New York in the 40s, we've got Mombasa in the 50s, we've got Sydney again in the 60s, and we've got Singapore in 69. So what the guys have done is shown how they used a port. So there's a place where the ship ties up, there's a place where you get the taxi, and then the places you go to. So the clubs and bars, which were relatively unusual then, but also the cottages they used and the parks they used. I'd like the exhibition to be at every maritime museum in the world, actually, because I do think maritime history has told a very conventional story that has excluded women and has excluded gender and excluded sexual orientation. So I think this exhibition opens out the subject of maritime history very interestingly and excitingly, and in a very attractive, light-hearted way. So I'd like it to tour the world, and I'd also like it that gay seafarers would contribute to this archive, and so that their stories are not lost, which of course is always a danger, but they contribute to the enduring history of maritime life.